On the morning of June 14, 2025, what began as a quiet day in eastern China would soon spiral into one of the most intense natural disasters the region had ever witnessed. In the city of Fuyang, located in Anhui province, powerful wind gusts exceeding 150 km per hour, around 93 miles per hour, tore through neighborhoods without warning. Residents were going about their morning routines when ominous black clouds rolled in, signaling a storm that no one was prepared for. By 8 a.m., chaos had descended. The wind struck fast and hard. Entire rooftops were peeled off buildings in seconds. Glass windows exploded inward, sending razor-sharp shards flying through homes and businesses. Walls buckled and collapsed under pressure. In the city's residential zones, terrified families grabbed their children and ran for any shelter they could find: underground garages, stairwells, alleyways. The streets turned into war zones of twisted metal, broken concrete, and flying debris. In the commercial center, the destruction was just as severe. Storefronts were shattered. Signage and billboards ripped from their mountings crashed into streets and vehicles below. The once bustling Fuyang market, a symbol of local culture and commerce, was flattened in minutes. Business owners watched helplessly as their livelihoods were reduced to rubble. Local authorities estimated millions of dollars in damage, yet the human cost was still unfolding. Power grids failed across the city. Electricity vanished. Communication networks went dark. Residents were cut off, unable to contact emergency services or even check on their families. Roads became impassable, blocked by toppled trees, shattered walls, and abandoned cars. First responders tried to push through, but in many areas, access was impossible. Buses and trains came to a halt. The city stood still, paralyzed by wind and fear. Nature itself seemed to turn on the city. Parks that once bloomed with flowers and shaded trees were left flattened. The Anhui River, normally calm, turned violent under the pressure of the wind, its surface whipped into whitecaps as it threatened to overflow. There was no calm center, only movement, only noise, only destruction. As Fuyang struggled to recover, news came of an even larger system moving inland from the south. Typhoon Wuip, this year's first tropical system, had already made one landfall. But unexpectedly, it struck again, this time deep in Guangdong province. Unlike most storms, Wuip carried vast amounts of moisture and retained its strength far inland. Cities hundreds of miles from the coast were hit with torrential rain, mudslides, and flooding. In Guangxi Autonomous Region, a devastating landslide buried several homes. 3 people were confirmed dead. Roads in Zhangjiang and Yunfu were underwater. Entire districts were forced to evacuate as boats replaced cars on city streets. Red-level rainstorm alerts, the most severe in China's weather warning system, were issued for dozens of regions. Rescue workers were deployed around the clock. In Guangzhou, bizarre weather phenomena added another layer of fear. Between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, witnesses reported waterspouts, twister-like vortexes forming over rivers near downtown. Though no casualties were reported, the images went viral, painting a haunting portrait of a city under siege by nature. Meteorologists warned that Wuip's behavior was highly unusual. Typically, storms weaken after landfall. But this one seemed to defy expectations. Carrying a warm core structure, it retained its intensity far longer than normal. "This storm isn't just about wind," said Ma Jun, director of the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs in Beijing. "It's about moisture, saturation, and deep inland impact. It's not following the rules." Residents throughout southern China echoed the same sentiment: this storm was different. A woman in Yunfu described waking up to 8 hours of unrelenting rain. By the time the water started to recede, entire neighborhoods had flooded. Another resident in downtown said the lowlands near the rivers took the worst of it. Some houses disappeared overnight. In response, China's central government released 40 million yuan, over $5.5 million, for disaster response in Guangdong, Guangxi, and Hainan provinces. The funds were earmarked for emergency housing, medical treatment, transportation recovery, and infrastructure repair. But officials warned the season was far from over. Typhoon Wuip was pushing north, targeting the Yangtze River Delta and threatening the provinces of Jiangxi, Zhejiang, and Fujian. By Sunday night, satellite images showed Wuip continuing to intensify. Torrential rain was already hitting parts of East China. Meanwhile, the storm's outer bands brought flash flooding, mudslides, and rising rivers to towns that had never seen weather like this. And all of it came with little warning. This event wasn't just a freak weather pattern. It was a sign of a changing reality. Weather systems are shifting. Storms are forming later, but hitting earlier. And more alarmingly, they're pushing further inland than ever before, affecting regions previously considered low risk. Fuyang wasn't on anyone's radar for wind disasters. Neither was inland Guangxi for typhoons. But on June 14, 2025, nature broke the rules. And for millions of people, everything changed in a matter of hours.